singer-songwriter-musician Corinne Jacqueline Bailey Ray first began her musical career playing classical violin in school and singing in church. Years later, she would take the world of music by storm with hit singles, albums, and award nominations. However, the immense grief she would suffer after a tragic loss almost crippled her and jeopardized the possibility of any future personal happiness or professional success. The eldest of 3 daughters to a white British mother and a West Indian father from the islands of St. Kitts and Nevis, Corinne Bailey came into the world on February 26, 1979, in Leeds, Yorkshire, England. As a teen, Corinne's love for making music was solidified when her mentor at the time, her Baptist Church youth group leader, bought her an electric guitar. With influences like Lenny Kravitz, Led Zeppelin, and Jimi Hendrix around, it was the perfect tool she needed to make her dream of following in their footsteps come true. While studying English literature at the University of Leeds, Corinne also worked as a cloakroom attendant at a local jazz club. It was here that she would meet her future husband, Scottish-born saxophonist Jason Ray. For several years, she was a member of an all-female rock group called Helen, which gained their inspiration from other bands such as Veruca Salt and L7. They got some attention from their local gigs, but failed to lock down any offers to sign with a label. That all changed when Corinne decided to go solo and move into a more soulful, jazzy R&B direction with her music. Her self-titled debut album hit the streets in 2006, catapulting her into superstardom. The first single, Like a Star, released the year before, was the perfect lead-in to her follow-up, Put Your Records On, which went on to become her biggest hit to date. It peaked at number 2 on the UK singles chart, number 1 on the UK R&B chart, and was nominated for Record of the Year and Song of the Year at the 2007 Grammy Awards. By the following year, Corinne's career was on fire. The success of her debut album allowed her to embark on her first international tour, be the musical guest in an episode of Saturday Night Live, and take home her first Grammy win for her work as a featured vocalist on a Herbie Hancock album. She was also hard at work and nearly finished with The Sea, her second album, when everything came crashing down. On March 22, 2008, 7 years into their marriage, Jason died of an accidental overdose of methadone and alcohol. And just like that, Corinne was a widow at age 29. He was found by police at a flat in the Hyde Park area of Leeds. Apparently, he had just returned from a tour with his band and was looking to catch up with some friends. He'd been at one friend's place casually drinking and socializing. The methadone belonged to that friend who had it prescribed to wean him off of heroin. Jason decided to give it a try on a whim, and sadly, it cost him his life when it stopped his breathing as he slept. He had no history of methadone abuse. Corinne and Jason dated for 3 years before they married in 2001. It was at this time that she changed her name to Bailey Ray. She describes him as a high achiever with an unquestionable talent, a loyal and devoted friend, charismatic, and very open and honest to a fault. She does admit that he was a recreational drug user of cocaine and ecstasy while he was drinking. In fact, during the post-mortem examination, traces of cocaine and ecstasy were also found, but not in amounts that would have contributed to his death. According to Corinne, Jason would regularly use these substances in addition to alcohol to keep the night going. He had actually stopped drinking for 2 months prior to his death and only started again that month. Over the years, Jason had struggled with getting his drinking under control. Some reports have said that his drinking and drug use caused a rift with his wife, and neighbors even said she would refuse to let him into their Leeds flat when he came home in a state. However, Corinne's friends insist that despite whatever drama Jason's use of substances may have created, their marriage was strong. That night, he had been drinking at a pub, and while making his way to his friend's place, he also purchased some bottles of wine to continue drinking when they got there. His friend ended up stepping out for a moment to pick up some food, leaving Jason in the flat by himself. Upon his return, he noticed Jason sleeping, so he decided to follow suit and hit the sack himself. The next morning, the friend couldn't wake Jason, and he was ultimately pronounced dead later that afternoon, surrounded by 3 empty methadone bottles on the floor. During an inquest, authorities were satisfied that the friend was not the one who gave Ray the methadone. For Corinne, day-to-day life was extremely difficult. Her mother, sisters, and 3 friends all moved in with her for a time to help with the cooking and cleaning. She didn't see any point in doing anything, so she spent much of her time doing just that. Nothing. She actually didn't speak for the first time about Jason's death until 9 months later during the inquest. The day before it took place, Corinne played a 45-minute set in the club where she started her career, for friends and family to thank them for their support. She featured covers of classic love songs and some Beatles tracks for the small crowd. After it was all over, her mother took to the stage to give her a hug. In an interview with Red Online, she said, "I remember thinking, I've had a really good run. I'm 29 and I've got to have this deep romance. That's more than a lot of people have, so I'm really lucky. But at the same time I thought, how am I supposed to survive the stretching decades? How am I going to survive with this actual physical pain?" The long road to happiness for Corinne was filled with music, poetry, friends, and Yoko Ono, the widow of Beatle frontman John Lennon. She told People magazine, "I'd see interviews of people who'd been widowed. I'd be looking at the picture of like Yoko Ono thinking, does she look happy? And I'd look and think, she does, she looks happy." Just the possibility that I could, in some distant point, be happy meant a big deal to me. After months of grief and isolation, and also while continuing to wear her wedding ring, Corinne began to write again. The Sea was finally released in 2010, 2 years after Jason's death. Even though the album was almost complete at the time of his death, it features songs written before and after the tragedy, and touches on themes of love, lament, and solace. The first single, a ballad titled "I Do It All Again," was written by Corinne at the beginning of 2008 after an argument with her husband. It's nicely juxtaposed with "I Would Like to Call It Beauty," which she'd written after a conversation with her grieving brother-in-law after asking him if he still believed in God. The following years seemed to be much kinder to Corinne. She released an EP titled The Love EP in 2011, which garnered her a Grammy win for the first single, a cover of Bob Marley's "Is This Love" for Best R&B Performance, received an honorary doctorate of music from the University of Leeds, her alma mater, married her longtime friend, producer, and jazz musician Steve Brown in 2013, and also dropped her 3rd album, The Heart Speaks and Whispers, in 2016, which she co-produced with her new love. Not surprisingly, Corinne wanted this 3rd album, coming off the heels of The Sea, which was very melancholy, to be much more vibrant, full of adventure, and somewhat of a rebirth. The album took 6 years to complete because after Corinne finished her tour promoting The Sea, she did begin to write again, but realized that she still had some more healing to do. Her relationship with Steve, whom she also shares 2 daughters with, was a happy surprise, since they've been friends for many years. However, she doesn't credit the relationship for her healing. She told the UK edition of The Sun in 2020, "There seems to be an idea that when you lose someone or a relationship breaks down, that finding a new love will fix your broken heart. That will never work. You have to take your time and work at being happy again. It's only then I could feel love." Thanks for watching. Please like and share the video and subscribe for more amazing content. See you next time.